What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video from us here at the Wingman University. My name is Nate Hibbert, and we appreciate you clicking on this video today, as this is part 2 of our second case study that we're doing, talking about the Playhouse that I provided a service for, and kind of breaking down that deal. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about actual things in the back end of Shopify, and some lessons that I learned there. We're talking about 2 lessons today, but in the next 2 videos that I'll also be doing on the same topic of the same case study, I'll be talking about deal structuring and kind of the exact numbers and way that this all came together, so you guys can just learn and be aware of what one person is doing. I'm not saying that this is the standard or the way that you should exactly do this business if you're thinking about doing it, but I just wish that there was this type of information out there when I started doing this, and so that's why I'm creating these videos, to provide you guys with just some source of information. But I'm always happy to keep talking about these topics, so if you have more questions or comments, if you want to let me know, things that I could try differently or questions that you have about a specific topic, please put them down in the comments below, and I'd love to talk with you. But jumping right into those topics that I want to talk about today, those 2 lessons that I want to bring out from this specific case study that I learned. Again, if you remember from the last video that we did, I was talking about kind of the story about how this all came about, and that this would be the very first time that I actually have people buying from me on Shopify. The first store that I did, the first case study that I talked about, was me just doing it so I could understand the Shopify language and kind of how things all worked together, and if I could actually do this thing. And this was the first time that I knew that I was partnering with someone who had an audience who was ready to buy shirts, and that they were willing to give me the wiggle room to figure out how that would work on my end as far as Shopify goes. We've always done this type of thing on Amazon's marketplace, and so that was kind of our bread and butter for the last 3 years, but this was the first time we did something like this on Shopify. So it was exciting, but it definitely came with its challenges, and so again, those 2 lessons that I learned from this was a lot about shipping. That was kind of the big thing that I didn't learn in the first case study or the first store that I set up, because I didn't have people buying from me, so I didn't quite know how to handle the shipping aspect of this business of running a Shopify e-commerce print-on-demand based business, and so that was something that I learned that I want to share a little bit about. And then the second thing was actually where to look for help. Before, I had just been reaching out to people that were directly in my network that could help me with the Shopify thing, as they were the ones pushing me into this. Actually, one of our partnerships that we have, they provide their products on Shopify, so it was an easy integration, and so I went to them for a lot of the questions that I had about how to make my site look the way that I wanted to look and how to get everything connected. But when I came to actually making sales, they were just things that came up that the people that I was partnering with hadn't run into before, as it was a new platform for me, so there was new problems that I was running into, and so I found a good community to go to look for those answers. But there's a ton of them out there that I'll also cover in just a second. So let's go ahead and jump into some over-the-shoulder stuff, actually looking at the screen about this first lesson of shipping. So once again, we are in the back end of Shopify. Hopefully this looks familiar to you guys, as in the last case study, we kind of went through what all these options are over here on the left-hand side, and where to click, and the search bar, how to find things very easily. But for today, we're going to be looking at the settings, and so that's what I've clicked into already. So we are in our settings, and what we're going to be looking at today is the shipping. So this box down here, it's the 4th one down, but as I've watched a lot of tutorials and things on YouTube, I've noticed that this page changes a lot. So if you're watching this a few months in future and this has changed, you can come here and click on shippings, or again, you can use the search bar up here and just type in shipping, as that will bring you directly to it, which is very nice that the search bar works so well. I'm just happy that a program works the way that it's intended to, and I've had a lot of frustrations navigating other websites, so I'm really happy that Shopify included this search bar and makes things easy to find, even if they are changing things on their back end. So that's just something to be aware of. But we are going to go ahead and click on shipping, as this is what I want to talk about today. So like I said, setting up the store beforehand, shipping wasn't a big problem because we weren't having sales, but now that we are actually having sales, I had to figure out how to calculate shipping and how to figure out what location it was coming from. Now, this is where I talk about that I am not a professional, so my disclaimer is, I'm not a Shopify professional. This is just, the 3rd or 4th store that I set up at this point, and so I know how this works for me, and I have figured out how to make Shopify work with me and not against me anymore, but that doesn't mean that I understand every single thing on this page, or that I can explain everything, how it's going to relate to what you are doing if you're not following, exactly what we have laid out as our business. So that is my disclaimer. But if you're doing a print-on-demand business or any type of business where you'll be shipping actual physical products on Shopify, I think that understanding shipping is just an important step. So this is what that shipping settings look like. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff on this page, but the rates at checkout is where I spent most of my time and where I had a lot of frustrations for a little bit, trying to figure out exactly how to calculate shipping. So what I'm going to do is go over here to manage rate so we can look at what I have set up already, and I can hopefully explain if there will be a different option that maybe will work better for you. So this is the shipping page. You can see some of our products here that we have on this store, where they're shipping from. I just put a fake address in here for the time being, just so I could show you guys what's going on here. But what's important is these two sections here, and this is how we're handling shipping for this store in particular that is really only has products from one provider. So we're able to do calculated rates, which means that whether it's domestic or it's shipping to rest of the world, as we have the two categories here, the calculated rate is going to see where our warehouse is at, where the customer is at, and then depending on how heavy the actual package is going to be, then USPS will tell us what it's going to cost, and then that price gets passed on to the customer, so they know exactly how much it's going to cost or how much we're going to get charged for shipping that product to them. So what that allows us to do is keep our prices a little bit lower than what if we were going to go with something like flat rate shipping, which is actually suggested by a lot of people. We've done quite a bit of research to see which option works best for us, and it's actually different depending on what store it is. So as we have several Shopify stores, we actually have different shipping options based on that store and who's providing those products. So like I said, this one mostly coming from one warehouse, so it's easy enough for us to calculate those rates. But if you have a store where you have multiple providers of products for that store, then it would probably be easier to do flat rate shipping, which I'm going to show up which I wanted to show how to set up very simply here. And really what I think the big benefit of the flat rate shipping is if they get over a certain dollar amount, or at least this is how most people set it up, where if you get over a certain dollar amount, if you're buying over a certain dollar amount, then you get free shipping. So it's an incentive program basically to get people to spend more money or buy more products from you, which is great. And we are seeing work on one of our stores, but for the time being, at least with this store, I'm pretty happy with calculated rates, as we've just seen that the profits don't drop off at any point. But again, if you guys are interested in hearing me talk about more about that, or my experience at least with calculated rates versus the flat rate shipping, leave me a comment in the section below, and I'll make sure that I get back with you and maybe even bring that up in another video. But if we did want to do flat rate shipping on this store, then I would come over here to this create shipping zone button, and this is going to show all the different areas that you can create shipping zones for. So it's mostly broken up to different countries, and you can choose either specific countries or specific continents, or if you just want to cover like the rest of the world, if you've picked America like we have done, as that's where most of our audience is, then you can do something like rest of world, which will group everything else together. But as we've already have a rest of the world section, let's go ahead and do Asia, and we can just call this zone Asia. And I'll even call it test so I don't forget to remove this later. But that would be, if we wanted to make sure that we had a shipping plan specifically for Asia, that would be how we set this up. And so once we hit done, then it's going to add a section here that we can add different shipping rates to. So once you see the location that you want to ship to in this section here, then you're going to have to go and click on add rate. And this is where I'm going to be showing off how to do the flat rate shipping. So basically, there's these two options here, setting up your own rates or using a carrier or an app to calculate the rates, which is what we've done for this store. But again, we're doing the flat rate, so we're going to set it up on our own. I'm going to call this the basic rate, and I'm going to have a price in here of, let's just say $8 for an example. And we want to add conditions to when customers will get this basic shipping rate, which is going to be $8. And so we hit add conditions, and that's going to allow us to either choose based on the item's weight or based on the order price. And for all the examples that I can think of, you would want to base this on price. I'm not sure where you would want to encourage people to either buy more or less of weight. I guess you would do that kind of in reverse. If you're buying heavier items, then the shipping prices would go up. But what we're trying to do here is to entice people to buy more products. So we're going to do this based on price. So the way that this works is you actually have to set up two of these, but the first one that we're going to set up is a minimum price of $0 or to say $50. So if your customer spends $50, then you want want them to have free shipping. And we'll actually make this $49.99 first. And so what this means is if your customer orders anything from $0 or $49.99, whatever their cart says, it's going to charge them $8 for shipping. Now, this is very dependent on where you're at, what products you're selling. So don't just think that, $8 is a standard here. I'm just using this as an example. But if we hit done, then we'll see in Asia, for the section of Asia, we have this basic shipping rate, and that's from $0 to $49.99, basically $50. They're going to be charged $8. So now we have to make a second one, a companion to this, that says if they order from $49.99, anything above that, then the shipping will be free. So we're going to hit this add rate button again. We're going to call this free shipping, and we're going to put a price of nothing, and you'll actually see that indicates that this will be free shipping. So again, we hit this add conditions button. We're going to do this based on order price, and we're going to turn this to $50 flat, and no limit on the maximum price. So again, if a customer orders something over $50, if their shopping cart says over $50, then they get the free shipping. And that's a great thing to market all over your website as well, so they're constantly reminded, if they're buying one sweatshirt and it's $40, that if they buy a sweatshirt and a t-shirt, which is probably going to be in like the $60 ballpark, then they will actually get free shipping, which is a good incentive, and it does actually work. And I do want to just jump in here real quick and just say that figuring out the exact numbers and how all this calculates is going to be situational, so it's hard for me to give any exact examples here, but this is something that you're going to want to work out and keep a very close eye on, especially the first couple of orders that you have. For us, we're doing partnership deals, so we're doing a profit split on the back end, and the first orders that went out, we did not have the shipping set up properly, and we actually lost money on a few of the products that went out because we didn't calculate shipping properly. Now, luckily, like I said in the first video, I told the Playhouse, this first client that we were working with, that there were going to be a lot of learning along the way. So they were willing to work with us and not just say, well, that was your mistake, you're going to lose all the money on your side of the profit split for that. But they were willing to work with us, like, okay, the first couple orders that went out, we didn't quite make any money because we had to use the profit from the actual product that we sold to cover the shipping. But on the next ones, now we've learned our lesson, so anything that sells from here on forward, we can do the agreed upon profit split, and everything should be running a lot smoother. So again, having a good network, being honest with the people that you're doing this, especially the first couple of times, is very important, but just keeping an eye on the shipping as well, the first couple of orders that go out, so you don't run into the same mistake, the same silly mistake that I made, which was not understanding shipping completely and just trying to guess at some of the numbers, but I was just wrong. I made a mistake, I admitted to that mistake, and we learned moving forward from there. But again, if you have more questions about that, please leave them in the comments below. I know a good amount about this topic now, especially how it relates to print on demand, and there's not a ton of information out there, so I am willing to answer questions about that. But speaking about information out there, that is the second thing that I wanted to talk about, the second lesson that I learned, which is being able to ask people on the internet, what to do in certain situations. One of the things that I love about Shopify is how well it's known, and how many people are using it, which means that there is a lot of other people running into problems and walls that they want to find solutions for. And so that comes into all different types of content for us to consume. So there's lots of people on YouTube making content about, like myself, but also there are forums online that will talk about this. And one that I have kept going back to is the actual official forum for Shopify, which I can show on the screen real quick. So if I pop into my next tab, which is Shopify Community, community.shopify.com, this is where you'll find their official forum, which is awesome. And I love right up here at the top, it tells you how many members are here, over 500,000, which is crazy, how many are currently actively online, which is 4,000, which is really cool, and how many posts are here, so how many questions have been asked and talked about, which again is over 500,000, which is really cool. So what I was coming to this forum for a lot was the shipping, so if I type in shipping here, you can see that there are a ton of open forum posts asking questions specifically about different parts of shipping. So you can see there's 10,000 results, so 10,000 different questions around shipping. And so you would want to be a little bit more specific to find out, the answer to what you're looking for. But I just found that this was a great wealth of information and a good place to go to find answers a lot quicker than kind of scrubbing through YouTube videos. If you're looking for something specific, I think that you should check here first first. Like I said, there are other communities out there, such as like Reddit and a lot of other places that you can find specific information, but why not use the official forums? And I found that they're pretty well organized as well, which is also a plus. So that's my 2 lessons for this case study, talking about the playhouse that we helped out. Those were the 2 things that I struggled with most. Nothing was too out of the ordinary. I kind of had solved all the other problems that I had initially in the first case study that we talked about. And so this one was kind of just plug and play, like putting in their designs on the specific products that they wanted, and we were pretty ready to rock and roll. So I hope you found that helpful. We've got 2 more videos coming out talking about this specific client, and then we're going to move on to the next client as well. That was a little bit more dramatic than this one, how easy this was to like set up and put together. Like I knew what I was doing as far as Shopify went for the most part, and I kind of knew the client and they were willing to work with me. So not too much drama here. It just all kind of worked out. Learned a few little things along the way, but nothing crazy happened. We'll save that for the last case study. But all right, guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. Hope you're having a great week, but I will see you guys later.